This first poem is pretty new. It's kind of a paragon of random associations. It's called Stroll. Okay, gussied up in flannel and flesh reproductions, an anonymity that unsettles even the minnows. Skimming the innards of Teflon hemlocks in the shallows, my mind ventures from its bare-boned bunker to inspect the sights, hoping to find the grime like a gutted geode beneath the guise. A moment of impact, the expected but missing kerplunk when the sun repels beyond the prairie's horizon. The owl's projections darker than night amongst the quince trees' Armageddon capillaries. It marvels at the mundane and its own novel response to the mundane, and it proceeds through requisite time-lapse samsaras, from Cud to Carnival, City Park decked out in early spring's Technicolor hand-me-downs, like the underside of a fold-out table daubed with gum, and the cumulative sensory onslaught of potpourri, as though St. Paul's stained glass belched citronella and meringue, or just the bare walls of this room, spatulated with shadows that sometimes seem off-brand knockoffs, or even worse, placebo. As the sun's bleached rectangle stutter steps the ceiling, egg sacs dropped from a spider each second, and what we see is the inside of a dream, until it dissolves into pastels more shocking than Hiroshima. The kinks have been hammered out of it. Now it needs only a leash, no bridle. When it flashes its chompers, strangers are no longer frightened, less frightened and amused to hear its exhaustive biography of Pamela Anderson, from her home improvement pre-Baywatch days to her narrow escape from Borat, after which she was missing from years until Robinson Crusoe used her to float away from his island. Its sudden eruption startles the statues. They're afraid to blink. They think to Chiricos disguised in Morse code roaming the lunatic back alleys on a kinky concoction of yesteryear's hard-ons, insomnia, and slot machines. A nightmare samsara that confounds the emergency exits, the bullseye baffled by the gaps in logic, methadone antidote to psychic continuity, a fuse that sets off high fives and the potential for further travel brochures, and the windows are all graffiti. When it finds something noteworthy, it calls me collect. Knowing I hate talking on phones, our awkward silences all the more awkward by the faces we make at each other. Okay, this next one's about growing up in the Mississippi countryside. It's called Americana. Aunt Ina's front porch was shadowed by an old oak with a paled root beer tin posted to its bark of a crew-cut, red-cheeked Rockwell boy posing with tan bottle of root beer, the mid-century mass-produced glee we as children mistook for our own. His face was pocked with freckles and bullet holes from the time Clint stood the tin against the fence out back for target practice. I watched and laughed as 22 shells stirred dust from the weeds, and bullseyes made the grinning boy wince. This next one is a pretty new poem. It's called Pine Bark Chips Like Old Frescoes All Along That Yellow Brick Road. I used to believe it was God peeking through stained glass, through the grimaces of prophets, the spazzed panels with their conflicting colors like an October forest soon to fall apart. The design became part of the separation, deflated air of cathedrals full of serrated skin gummed with dust, leafy lips preserving the dullest of grins congealed with psalms, even as their eyes bobbed in the window like buxom mouths and buckets of water for apples which are their own reward. Thanks.